was known to many in his family as Saba, the Hebrew word, really the Aramaic word, for grandfather. In his youth, he played some baseball, and because of his left-handedness, naturally enough, his brother-in-law dubbed him Lefty. So, to some in the family, he was Saba. To some, Saba Lefty. And to others, just plain Lefty. He was the youngest of 3 children. Growing up, to his mother and his siblings, he was also Babe. Many of us here remember his mother, Esther. She was a person of strong will and resolve. Uncommonly, at that period of time, she was successful in business on her own, especially in real estate. She bought and sold residential properties, primarily apartment buildings in Chicago, to support her growing family. When I first entered the field of real estate, she would often ask me in Yiddish, which is easier, to buy or to sell? The best answer is probably neither, but it took me some time to figure that out. Her buying and selling left a telling imprint on Saba. He remembered very graphically coming home from school on more than one occasion, only to find that their apartment had been vacated, and there was no one there to greet him. His mother had sold the building and moved them to an apartment somewhere else. Eventually, someone got to him and brought him to the new place. This happened, as I said, more than once. Not knowing whether he was coming back to the same house clearly impacted on a little kid who would find himself bereft of familiar surroundings and have no idea of what lay in store. That trauma left a deep impression on him. Ed Newlander's Saba's 100-plus year lifespan began in June 1911 in a world very different from the world in which we find ourselves today. It is hardly possible in a few moments to describe all the events that touched and shaped his life in that period of time. The First World War, the Roaring Twenties, the Depression years, the Second World War, his path, first graduating from law school, then because few openings for lawyers were available during the Depression years, his career as a federal court reporter. Raising a family, coming to Southern California, the loss of his wonderful wife some 13 years ago, the company of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. The warm and stable home he built with his wonderful wife, Aliza, Savta to the family, was fundamental for him. He craved a steady, firm, and solid place, a home upon which he could rely and upon which his children would come to rely. Building such a home came in part by example. He was 15 when he and Savta first met. She quickly became the most important person in his life. But also, and very important, were her parents, particularly her father, who must have filled the void in Saba created by the father he never knew. This family, Savta's family, had strong roots in Israel, then Palestine. Savta's father was an early pioneer, forced to flee from Palestine by the Turkish government. When it became safe to return, he and Savta's mother did so, bringing a son and a daughter with them. That family in Israel was never far from the care and concern of Saba and Savta's household. They were in touch by letter, no email then, and care packages lovingly wrapped sewn and shipped, and visits at a time when traveling meant weeks aboard a ship. The earliest trip was in 1937, then 1947, and then many more. Saba was welcomed into a growing and extended family, which greatly enriched and brought joy to his life. A message arrived in this morning's email from the daughter-in-law and son of Safta's late brother. Here are a few lines. In 1974, I came to Los Angeles. After a long flight, all I wanted was a bite to eat, and I started in their kitchen. It was Thursday. The next day she baked her challah, and I can smell it now. It was a great stay, and I have great memories that go with me. When we met Azriel, that's Saba's Hebrew name, on our last visit, we felt that talking about the missing people was too hard for him. So we looked through old albums, trying to find pictures that would not bring tears to his eyes. 100 years in our crazy world forced him to get used to so many changes, and he did it with great success. But in all those years, he kept his beautiful personality. I felt that he kept his teenage love for your mother with a special grown-up naivete, a unique love they shared, like he did not live before her, and it was hard to live after her. He kept his wit and great sense of humor, a gentle and sharp one. Our condolences to all of you. Please share our hugs with your children and grandchildren who were lucky to have him for so many years and had great memories from their Saba and Safta. We do live far, but we feel we are there with you. A big hug, Ofi and Kirsch. As this email makes clear, the warmth and love in their home radiated to people near and far. So the best insights into precious moments of his life can be looked for from the very people whom he loved, who loved him and who gave him the experiences he treasured. I'm delighted to call on several members of the family to share their memories with us. First, Judy Selzer, daughter number 2.